This is pointed at Kerbin. I mean, this is worthless, but like, this is definitely pointed at Kerbin. And it is activated. And it has a 60 gigameter range. I'm really confused here. Okay, let's go back to the Space Center really quick. I want to investigate this. Okay, we're looking at the tracking station. And we can see that this satellite here, this probe, this is our probe. Okay, it's kind of down here. And it has a direct... Look at that. Okay. So it's only pointing here, but the rest of these aren't pointing. Like this Kerbin relay here is not pointing at active vessel. But I think it's because, okay, so I think this is what it is. This is designed for long range communication, like super long range. And as a result, it has a really, really narrow cone. Oh man. So like this will get wider over time, but it's only pointing at... How do I fix that? Well, I did do a quick save. I feel like this is a quick save. I feel like this is reload worthy, like quick save worthy. Because I don't have a full understanding of how this works. I mean, this cone is there, but like now I know how it is. I'm not gonna like relaunch the vessel, but I think if I just change it to where it's pointing directly at the KSC, or maybe I target that satellite. If I point this dish directly at that relay, you know? Like that could work. Right? Because I don't know when I'm gonna get a signal here. If I zoom ahead a bit, I don't know why I'm focused on that. I want to focus on the other thing. Here. See, now look at that. Now this has active vessel. Like that should be able to cover it. Look at that. That should totally... That is coverage right there. This should have a signal now. It should have a signal, but it doesn't. That was coverage. Like that is right there. This triangle right here. This is coming, and I'm zooming all the way in as far as I can. This cone right here is pointed at active vessel. It's the same range. They should all see it, and they do. So why doesn't it have a connection? Well, I haven't done anything since the Minmus burn. Let me reload to the Minmus burn. I haven't done anything, so all the outcome won't be different. But like, let me just see this real quick. Okay, now look at this. There's no connection because Minmus is blocking us, right? That's because Minmus is blocking us. We got that part. We know that. We know why that one's doing it. So if I get away, we should be able to get a signal now. Okay, there's a direct signal, but where is it coming from? That's what I want to know. It's coming from that Kerbal relay. It's coming directly from the relay. Okay. Now this is pointed at Kerbin. So if I change this to point instead right at that relay, to always stay looking at the relay. Now, does that affect anything with our... Does that affect anything, you know? I don't know. Time warp to interplanetary space. And we were going to reach interplanetary space. Now... And now I'm in interplanetary space, and I have a signal. I have to point it directly at the relay. Is that what I'm seeing now? Is it just because of the cone? I mean, this relay is going all over the place, and this is why I put it like in an orbit like this, so it would kind of hang out down here and get all these things. But the fact that I have to point it directly at the relay is kind of weird. Because you would think if I pointed it directly at Kerbin, these satellites, like at least one of them, like this would pick it up, you know? And at this particular angle, pointing it at Kerbin, I would think that the moon stuff would pick it up too. Very bizarre. Okay guys, well we're learning. We are learning new things about RemoteTech and how it works. I thought I had read up on that very well, but apparently I didn't read up on that very well. This 25 science, or 26 science, I can't read either. 26 science from above the sun. We will do the same with, we do not want to jettison anything. We want to do this experiment. 39 science, that's a lot. Let's do a mystery goo. Boom. 65 science if we recovered it, which we're not going to. So we'll transmit. And then we'll do a materials bay. Let's do it on the same side though. I can't get the camera to do what I want, guys. Teach me how to use the camera, please. Look at that materials study. 48 science on transmit, 162.5 if recovered. Very cool. Maybe it's, let's change this to free. Maybe chase, no. Locked. Well, at least locked gives me a decent view of things. Weird, but all right. Ooh, it's, oh, that's what locked is. I don't want that. No thanks. Auto, free. Yes, free. I feel free, not really. Let's find, Jesus. Wow. So difficult to get where you want. Why can't I click on that? No, why can't I click on this? Is this click bug on there now? Another click bug? Okay, well, the only way to solve the click bug, from what I can tell, is to do a quick save and reload it. Okay, vessel's reloaded. And I still cannot click the experiments. Cannot click it. It's not a time warp thing, is it? No. It's not like a flight computer thing, is it? No. Like it flat out, I just can't click the temperature. And ever get control of the camera, I swear it'll be just an amazing day. Is there a mod that allows me to control the camera better? Because if that exists, I want it like right now. I am gonna look at that because I am just the camera. No thanks. I cannot click these. So now, like, yeah, I flat out can't do temperature. I can't do pressure because I can't click the experiments. The only thing I can do, well, I can do this, I guess. This is annoying, but I guess I can do it. I can right-click the mystery goo, and because I have all of y'all installed, I can perform all science in one big button. So click this, mystery goo. I can reset, temperature scan, transmit, atmospheric pressure scan, transmit. 78 science for that. I would have been so mad if I couldn't do that. So all y'all mod, that mod, just saved the day. Yeah, that's annoying, but what are you gonna do? Okay, so now I have to figure out what I'm gonna do for maneuvers, and I really don't know. So, but I'm really considering going to Eve first, and if I can use Eve's gravity and find a way to use Eve to get to Moho, that'd be great. Because that's going to save me a ton of Delta V, and I might actually be able to pull it off. Maybe, not getting my hopes completely up here, maybe even orbit, which would be impressive considering I left Kerbin with 5,500 meters per second of Delta V. If I can get into Moho, ejecting away from a transfer window, like outside a transfer window, for less than 6K, that's pretty cool. It's going to take years to do it. I'm going to have to wait. It's going to have to orbit around and around and around and around and find just the right timings, but it's possible. We'll have to monitor our satellite as it goes, but let me play around with some maneuver nodes here. Let me kind of try to plot out. Let's get these off. Let's try to plot this out, and when I come back in the video, then you'll know what's up. All right, you guys. So it took about 15 minutes to play around with some maneuver nodes. I kind of had an idea of what I wanted to do, but because the planets are so out of whack in terms of like where they need to be aligned for us to make an efficient burn, we're gonna kind of have to deal with what we have to deal with. So I'm gonna kind of walk you through what our satellite's going to do, and hopefully, I don't know this far in advance, so I'm actually going only to the Eve encounter, which may end up in a capture. I don't know. And I'm probably going to adjust the final burn here just to sort of get things to be exactly how I want later, planning ahead. But for now, I have too many nodes and I don't want to plan that far ahead. Things are going to change a little bit too much by then. So we will play that by year. But as you can see in the flight computer, we have 266 days until our next burn. Okay? So our vessel, our satellite is here. Okay, I'm just gonna actually focus on the sun because that's probably the easiest in terms of like visualizing what we're gonna do here. Maybe it's the easiest, I don't know. So our vessel's here. It's going to orbit around the sun all the way over until it gets to here. This is the apoapsis for its solar orbit. It takes 266 days to reach this. Okay, now obviously it takes 1 year to get back where we are. It's a year. So 266 days to get to here. Then we're gonna burn retrograde for 709 meters per second of delta V. Now the vessel that we're currently using has just under 5,000 meters per second. Okay, so the goal here is to get to Moho. All right, a flyby, or if we can get an orbit, that's amazing. But a flyby is that's all the goal was. I just want to see Moho. I've never been there. I want to look at it. I think we have the opportunity to get there, and to get there without nuclear propulsion will be pretty cool. So that's what we're gonna burn. That brings our periapsis to here, which is exactly where we need it to be to encounter Eve. Except Eve won't be there when we get there. Eve will be kind of like over here somewhere. So it doesn't really help us to have that there. However, once we get there, okay, well, not once we get there. Let me rephrase that. So that burn brings us there. Then we're gonna come around to here. Okay, so from here, we're just gonna keep moving around. We've adjusted our orbit. It's kind of coming in now. We're on this orange line instead of the blue one. We come in, and then we make a burn here. Now this burn is an adjustment to inclination. This is the descending node for Eve. And this burn is super short. It's the ascending node, sorry. This burn is less than 50 meters per second. It's 46.9. And the reason why it's so short to correct the inclination for Eve is because of the burn we did in Minmus. You saw that burn we did in Minmus. We burned sort of down and we ejected it downward. And the reason why I did that was because I was thinking I'd probably want to go to Eve. And I'm probably gonna have to use Eve in order to get to Moho. So I decided to plan ahead a little bit with maneuver nodes so that when we ejected Kerbin's sphere of influence, I used the moon to get to Minmus because we couldn't get to Minmus directly and still have what I wanted. So I used the moon, used the moon's gravity to kind of bend us a little bit with a little help from a burn, of course, to get to Minmus. And then I burned at Minmus, just a little help from Minmus. It doesn't have a whole lot of gravity, but it's just a little bit, enough to where when I exited Minmus and I exited Kerbin's sphere of influence, I would only be 0.3 degrees from being completely matching Eve's orbit, her inclination, right? Because you want to match the inclination, unless of course you can do something super sick like a polar transfer to a moon. That was pretty cool. Episode 22, if you don't know what I'm talking about. But But typically you have to match the inclination of what you're orbiting. So that's why I did the burn at mid-miss, is to get it close. And so this right here is finishing the job. It gets us to be the right inclination, okay? It's only 50 meters per second instead of having to spend a couple hundred to do it while I'm in solar orbit. Very cool. Then we're gonna come around, right? After this inclination change, we come around to here. And this maneuver is 1 year and 26 days away. Now this maneuver is a prograde, is a retrograde burn at the periapsis to bring our apoapsis down. And we're only bringing the apoapsis down to here, not bringing it down very far. We're only bringing it to here. And we're also gonna burn a little bit normal as well. So we'll bring this down, apoapsis comes down, as well as the inclination being finalized. And at that point, we round around and we actually get to meet up with Eve at the same time Eve is there. We get our Eve encounter. Okay? The Eve encounter happens. The Eve periapsis will happen in 1 year, 353 days. Almost 2 years from now, this probe will meet Eve. And the reason why I inclined the burn a little bit, that 17 meters per second, it had to do with inclination, but it also adjusted our approach. And I adjusted it so that we would come right in 80,000 meters off the surface of Eve, which, if you know anything about Eve, you know that that is almost 10 kilometers inside the atmosphere for Eve. We are going to aerobrake a little bit in Eve. Okay? A little bit of aerobraking in Eve. Now, I need to schedule the flight computer to open up a new set of solar panels after we do that, because that will probably break our solar panels, which is why I've only extended 2 of them instead of all 6. So it'll probably break our solar panels. See, I'm thinking ahead here, guys. I got reasons for things. I'm hoping, now I don't have the maneuvers scheduled after this because I don't know the effects that this will have. So, but I'm hoping that because this curve isn't that extreme, and I might adjust it a little bit as we go to make this a little bit more extreme. I'm hoping that this aerobrake captures us. I'm hoping that we get captured in orbit Eve. And the reason why I'm hoping to do that is because I don't think, and I might be wrong, but I do not think that our inclination on this ejection is going to match MOHO's. I'm almost guaranteeing it's not. But the hope here, and I'm actually gonna, now that I'm looking at, I'm probably even going the wrong direction, so I'll probably adjust it a little bit. But I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. So for now, that's what our satellite's going to do. It took a little bit to get this, about 15-20 minutes of playing around with things, but basically that's it. So satellite's path once more. It's coming around. It burns, brings the periapsis from here to here. Comes around, does a quick little inclination burn, 50 meters per second. Then it comes around here, hits this burn here, brings our apoapsis down, runs around, and meets up with Eve. 3 burns, and the third burn, the final burn we do, is on year 2, day 58. So there you go. Pretty cool. I'm gonna quick save that in case the game crashes, because I don't want to lose all that work. And so how much delta V do we spend, right, to get to Eve? Well, we've already spent a lot just to get to solar orbit. So I'm not counting that. So we have spent a considerable amount of fuel, but we had a 300 meter per second burn at the moon. We had another, I don't remember what it was, I'll have to look in the video, but I think it was something like another maybe 200 meters per second at mid-miss. So right there is 500. Then we have three nodes here, and that's 709, so that's about 1200 there. This is only 50, so let's say 1250. And if we round this around, we can say this is around 300. So 350 added to that. You know, we're spending a considerable amount of delta V. more than we would have to, more than we would want to. But here's the important part, I think. Here's the important point that I want to get, though. Right now, it doesn't matter. Like, all I've spent doesn't matter. What I have left in the future is what matters. And right now, I've got just under 5,000 left. So when I spend just under 5,000 left, and I spend 710, which is basically what that is, 710 on the first burn, 50, so that's 760 then, and then another, well, let's just say, yeah, about 300 again, right? I've already lost count. I can't count 3 numbers ahead, apparently. Don't do math while you're streaming, guys. Don't do math. It's just terrible. You're so focused on what you're going to say next that you don't even think of the numbers. 750, so that's 760 plus 300. We're talking about another 1,050-ish to get to Eve. But that 1,050-ish doesn't even deplete the stage that we're currently using, right? This big stage. I need the map view to cooperate. There we go, map view. It doesn't even deplete this tank. So we are going to get to Eve before I'm out of fuel in this tank, which is awesome because that means I've got all of this Delta V left, almost 3,600 left to get to Moho. And if I can time my ejection from Eve properly, maybe even use the rest of the fuel that's in this to get out of Eve again, I'm going to have a huge, very highly eccentric orbit around Eve, because that's going to make it easier to leave later. But I'm hoping that this is enough to get us an encounter with Moho. And because we're coming into Moho, Moho's sphere of influence, from a not so far away place, we're only coming in from Eve instead of coming in from Kerbin, I'm hoping that our relative velocity, our orbital speed, whatever you want to call it, is low enough to where my engines with 3,600 or 3,000 or whatever I end up having left over is enough to slow us down and get us into orbit. Won't that be cool? Like, it's the hardest planets to reach in the whole game. It's the hardest planet to reach in the stock game. And we're going to get there before nuclear propulsion. And we're going to get there with an unmanned probe, with RemoteTech installed, and we haven't even put a Kerbal on frickin' Minmus yet. That's awesome. We'll see you for the next episode, guys. Bye.